He cheated me out of my inheritance. He cheated me out of my mother's love. He cheated me out of my father's blessing. Stole it right from under me. I vowed to kill him. It's been more than 30 years now, and every day since, I thought about what I will do to him when I next see my brother.
In human relationships, forgiveness carries profound significance. It is no different within the family of God. Throughout the Bible, forgiveness is repeatedly emphasized as a vital aspect of our interactions with one another.
I'm Esau. My father was Isaac, and my grandfather was Abraham. Yes, that Abraham. My family is messed up. I believe your term is dysfunctional. My grandfather's first son was Ishmael. And Ishmael's mother was my grandmother's Egyptian slave, Hagar. My barren grandmother had urged my 85-year-old grandfather to get Hagar pregnant so he could have a son. Messed up, huh? Worse, when Hagar did get pregnant, my grandmother, she absolutely flipped out. I mean, it was her idea. She would be the culturally accepted mother of the child heir. And then when it happened, according to her own plan, she sent the pregnant Hagar out to the desert to die. God saved Hagar, and she returned to the camp where she bore Ishmael, my uncle Ishmael. We were so much alike. I loved Uncle Ishmael. An angel prophesied that he would be a wild donkey of a man, and he would live in hostility toward his brothers. Yep. And when my grandmother sent him away for good, he lived in the desert. He became a famous archer. He had 12 sons who became tribal chiefs in the desert. He had one daughter who would become my third wife. Abraham was 100 years old, literally a century, when he and my grandmother had their only son, Isaac, my father. Isaac inherited nearly everything from Abraham, while my uncle Ishmael got little. My father married my mother, Rebecca, when he was 40 years old. And for the next 2 decades, Isaac and Rebecca were childless. Then, God answered their prayers. My mother got pregnant. It was a very difficult pregnancy, and my mother asked God what was going on. He told her that she would have twins who would become great nations. However, the older would serve the younger. I came out first. My parents knew I would serve my brother, and Jacob was born next. We were twins, but we could not have been more different from the first moment of our lives. I came out ruddy and red and hairy, and my brother was small. Smooth? I loved the desert, being by myself. I became a great hunter, like my uncle Ishmael, and my father craved the wild game I brought home and cooked for him. Probably brought back memories of his younger days before he was married. My father and I had a special bond, as you can imagine. My brother, Jacob, polar opposites doesn't even come close. Now, he hated hunting. He much preferred the camp. Now, he spent a lot of time with my mother and the other women. My mother pampered him. And as you can imagine, they developed a special bond. No surprise where this is headed. You can see the dysfunction blossoming in our little family. I was young, and I came back from a long hunt. Hangry? I'd been out all day, exhausted, desperately thirsty, and, of course, famished. My brother, on the other hand, had spent the entire day at home and was just putting the finishing touches on a delicious stew. Now, I am about to die. I'm that starved. I'm begging you. Let me have a bowl of that stew. And he just looks at me. Please, I say in a really kind voice. I don't know how else to make my case. You know what he says? Sell me your birthright. Like, what are we even talking about? First, sell me your birthright. Again, with the birthright thing, I'm about to die. What good is a birthright to me? Then he wants me to swear that I'll sell my birthright to him. So I do. And then I dive into the stew, and my benevolent brother gives me bread and a drink to go with it. That snake. Oh, I was stupid. With my poor judgment, what good is a birthright if I'm dead from hunger? I gave up my firstborn right to a double share of inheritance and the firstborn right to lead our family, all for a bowl of red lentil stew? And it was tasty, not gonna lie. Jacob had his faults, but the man could cook. It wasn't a big deal at first, the lost birthright. And my father continued to lead the family as we wandered from place to place. Our father and son bond deepened more and more, while Jacob and my mother, well, their bond deepened as well. My father was aging. I seemed destined to take over the family leadership. One day, my father specifically asked me to hunt. He wanted some wild game. It was his favorite. He was nearly blind and seemingly near death. No way I would turn him down. I hunted, came back, brought the gourmet thunder, mouth-watering, and the smell. I walk into his tent. Hey, better sit up. I've got your favorite. Who are you? That's what he said. He asked me to hunt. Meat aroma filled the room. Why would he even ask me that? I'm Esau. I didn't know what else to say. Your firstborn son. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. My conniving, underhanded coward of a brother stole my blessing and took the family leadership. My father went into shock, trembling violently. I begged him, bless me too, Father. There's nothing left. What's done is done. It's pretty much the response. Jacob was given all of it. Everything. He was made to be my master. The Bible records that I lifted up my voice and wept aloud. Possessed by rage and a vengeance, and I wouldn't rest until I tore him limb from limb. Yeah. That. I'm not exaggerating, and I did not make it a secret. Veiled threat? Not remotely. My mother got wind of it all, hurried my brother away to safety with her own brother, my uncle Laban, and relatives to the north. And I left too, and went south to live with my uncle Ishmael. Over the years, my anger at Jacob never waned. It drove me. I was a fierce leader of desert tribes. The whole country was named after me. Edom. My people became the Edomites. We were wild and free, and I was happy. Except when I thought of Jacob and what he'd done to me. I was a man with a hidden disease, rotting from the inside. On one hunting trip together, Uncle Ishmael took me far into the desert. Over a campfire, he revealed something that changed my world. And the whole world. He was exactly like me, he said. I already know this, but there was more I didn't know. His brother had taken his blessing and inheritance. His culturally accepted mother loved his brother more than him. And his father allowed his culturally accepted mother to exile him. His anger at his brother and his culturally accepted mother became all-consuming. It turned into an obsession. Over time, he came to understand that God had a plan for him and a different plan for his brother. He learned that he could only fulfill his plan and be content in life if he trusted God and forgave his brother. He learned that people like his brother and culturally accepted mother were necessary elements in becoming who he was supposed to be. At long length, we discussed things like not annihilating all for the wrong of one, going beyond an eye for an eye, to get this, forgetting about the wrongs people do to you and doing good to them instead. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is a medicine, the antidote to your anger. And then he laughed. Oh, one other thing we have in common is this. The destiny of my family will be fulfilled through my brother's son. You. The destinies of your family will be fulfilled through your brother's son. Nephew? Does my brother even have a son? Interesting for sure. And in retrospect, I will say this. You never know how a forgiving spirit will spill onto others. Time went by, and my brother Jacob became rich. And one day, he needed to travel through my country. He, his enormous family, and their vast herds needed to travel through Edom, the country I completely controlled. We bypassed all his bribes and herds and family he didn't care about and went directly to Jacob, my hated, wily coward of a brother. Now, he approached me, bowing repeatedly, trying to keep distance between me and his favorite wife and favorite son. And I rode my wild stallion directly to him, spear in hand, jumped off the horse and sprinted to hand deliver my surprise. Brother, you are forgiven. You should have seen his face. I hugged him and wept. Seriously, his face. Who are all these people? I start to make conversation, and he was still so freaked out. He says, well, they are the children God has graciously given your servant. Your servant? I had completely forgiven him. He didn't believe me. I know he didn't believe me. He tried to give me all kinds of flocks and herds, and I told him I've got plenty. Keep them for yourself. He insisted. God had a plan for him and a plan for me. What he did was meant to harm me, but God meant it for good, to accomplish what was being accomplished. Brothers, evil doing, hatred, a lifetime culminating within a few minutes before God, before me, my men, my brother, and every member of his family. The future of our families. The hope of trusting in God, good reversed from evil. The forgiveness of brothers. So many blessings. God will turn to good whatever is meant for evil. No matter what happens to you, forgiveness is the antidote. Jacob and his wife nearly collapsed with relief. But his young son stood tall, brave, listening intently. What is your name, boy? I called to him. Joseph. If my uncle Ishmael is right, the destiny of our family just may depend on my nephew, Joseph.